The Spanish classic dish, paella, or paella, as us Aussies say it sometimes, is one of those incredible all-in-one fantastic dishes. It's a rice-based dish. You can use whatever kind of ingredients you want, but I've got a recipe here with chicken, chorizo, and it's so, so tasty. Let me show you how to make it. So you start off with a little bit of oil. So this is a really interesting way to do a paella. Paellas are usually done with a heat source from beneath, so you get a nice crust of rice on the bottom of the paella dish. They're a little easy to burn, so if you're quite new to it, this is an incredible way to do it, because what I do is I get my paella ready to go, and then I throw the whole thing in the oven, and when it comes out, you still get that beautiful crust, but the crust is actually on top because the heat source is coming from around the outside. All right, that's warm, so I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on my chicken, and then I'm just going to pick these pieces up and pop them straight into the dish. So a little bit more salt and a little bit more pepper. So I'm just going to move that around. So to make the paella, I've got some onions, some red capsicum, the chorizo, a little bit of diced tomato, some chopped up garlic, and some smoked paprika. Once your water comes up to the boil, bring it off the heat, just remove the lid, and then just go ahead and add that little pinch of saffron. And then you just steep the saffron in the water, and you're gonna see it's gonna just bleed all of that beautiful color and flavor into the water, and you're gonna make a beautiful saffron stock. So what I like to do is keep it off the heat, recover it, and just let it sit there for a little while. 10 minutes or so. By the time we've got this done, it's gonna be perfect. Right, now a couple of things have happened while we've been colouring these chicken pieces in our paella pan. We've been getting a little bit of caramelisation, which is great because it's going to increase the sweetness of the chicken. But the other thing that's been happening that's really important is a little bit of the fat has been rendered out of the chicken pieces into the pan. So that fat is going to carry on cooking our onions and our red capsicum, and it's going to help to flavour the dish. So it's a really important process, just rendering down some of that fat. Once you've got nice colour on all of those chicken pieces, you can just go ahead and remove it from the pan. Now, these pieces aren't cooked yet. Don't forget that. We're going to put it back in. And then we can start adding our other ingredients that's going to actually go to flavour the paella. So the onions are first. Move them around the dish, and of course you're going to pick up some of that beautiful flavour that we achieved by cooking the chicken in there first. Next, we're going to add our red capsicum and our garlic. So we're going to let that capsicum soften up for a couple of minutes. Then we're going to add our chorizo, our rice. Once the rice goes in, give it a good stir and let all of that fattiness, that oil that's come out of the chorizo and come out of the chicken and the little bit of oil that we cooked it in actually coat those grains of rice. Add your paprika. Okay, so once the rice has had a minute or so in there, you'll see it'll start to go a little translucent. You want to keep the heat up. It should be nice and high still. And then the last thing that you're going to do is grab the stock that you went ahead and steeped the saffron in. Just give it a good mix. I love that smell of saffron. When you get it into that water and you start that saffron stock off, it's just so, so good. Okay, so you see we're really starting to move this around now. You can see it's nice and hot in there, so you take your stock, you add it in. See the colour of that saffron stock? Gorgeous. Okay, so make sure you give it a good old mix. So just pick up your chicken pieces, pop them in, and it's almost like the rice is just going to grow up around all of these pieces of chicken. It's really cool. Take your little pieces of diced tomato, sprinkle them around, which is going to give us an amazing colour, but of course also a beautiful flavour. One last sprinkling of salt and pepper. And then you transfer the whole paella pan into the oven. This is unconventional. Normally you do it all here on the stovetop, but this is a different way of doing it, and I think it's a really successful one. Now I've preset my oven to 200 degrees, and this is going to be about 25 to 30 minutes. My paella has been in the oven for about 25 minutes. I've got one beautiful big spring onion, which I'm just going to go ahead and chop. Nice little garnish. And it also just lifts up that flavour, which is awesome. Okay, coming out of the oven. Woohoo, you're going to love this. Have a look at that. Perfect. All of that liquid's been absorbed by the rice, so it just looks so good. And what you want to have is a little bit of crunch just on the top of the paella, which is actually the opposite to how a traditional one works, because normally the underneath has a beautiful crust. But here, the crust's there, and it's so much easier just to throw it in the oven and forget about it for half an hour. When it comes to serving, you just get in there and you dig deep. That beautiful saffron rice, it's got so much flavour. Oh, yum. It looks pretty fantastic. And the best bit is it tastes even better than it looks. Just going to give a quick squeeze of that lemon. Bon appetit.